Hey guys, I'm Cecilia Jamie here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie Spaceman. If you end up enjoying this full movie review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition to help out some other YouTubers, second there to my Patreon and PayPal where you can help support me and my channel directly, and fourth to my Discord server where you join, collab, shill, and do all of that cool stuff, and shilling will be reminded at the end of the review. With all that out of the way, let's get into Spaceman. So I saw the trailer for this like once before seeing the movie, and I am here to review it as objectively as possible. So I didn't really have much of a clue as to what this movie was going to be about, though it's dealing with space. I kind of had an inkling what it could have been about, though I won't deny that this movie goes in a completely different direction than what I was typical astronaut-based movie. There's definitely certain setups and payoffs that come to mind when thinking of that type of scenario. So yeah, we'll just go into it. So we follow a spaceman. Well, this once played by one Adam Sandler, who plays Jacob or however they pronounce it in the movie, from the Czech Republic. And I'm not sure when this movie is set, but we see him sort of in this environment that you see him in the poster, but he's in the suit, and there is a little bit of curiosity as we see that this is a dreamlike state that he is in, and once he awakes, he is in indeed space. And he's checking around the ship, and he makes contact with Peter, his on-ground main team guy, and he gets this call because I guess he's a more famous astronaut based on the lore they give us in this movie. He has sponsorships and all that good stuff. So yeah. And while he's out there, we then cut back to his wife, who is currently in an emotional state with a baby on the way, and is thinking about calling it off. And this will serve as actually the main sort of thrust of the movie, is this whole interaction between him and her. Well, and our third surprise party member, rather, or fourth, I guess, if you want to count Peter. Speaking of which, he has a nightmare about a spider crawling out of him. And he wakes up make sure that he can make contact. And he's beginning to get curious because he's hearing this noise come through, if his devices have been hacked. So he begins to check around the kitchen and spots, and this is, I guess, our twist, a giant spider that can talk. And it goes into the airlock. He goes into the airlock, and he's trying to guide Peter through she's like, no, there's a contaminant of sorts. He's trying to play off the fact that he can see a spider for that. So they hold that bit for a bit, and once out, he still sees the spider. So as he's interacting with this one spider rather, he's seeing these memories start to pop in his head, and he's already assuming that this is the spider's doing for whatever reason. And he kind of is talking with the spider, banning it from rooms. And the spider goes on about how it wants to help him, specifically with his whole mental state. And we cut back to the wife here, where we see how she's talking about being perceived as small, or a dot rather. And when we cut back to our ship, we learn that the spider does not have a name. So he endows Jacob to name it, which he does. Hanas, or however you pronounce it. For the sake of it, I'll just keep calling him the spider, because I don't feel like pronouncing that name every time. So he's talking to him about persisting, about seeking out these memories and doing what he can to, well, remember them. And so he starts to lighten up, removes one of the bands of one of the rooms. He begins to talk about his father here, where I believe there's this whole thing about this mission set up. And now that he feels like responsible, and that kind of plays into one of the many reasons he has made his way here in space. And the spider talks and retorts and says how he must now be a actual father, be present in the life. It is a trope outside of movies like this, obviously, but I do find the approach to it, I guess, a little bit unique at the very least. That being the busy-bodied father who has little time for the family. Of course, that trope has been around since like forever. So yeah, this is a tweak on that, I suppose, with this whole spider bit. Acting as that anchor point. Video begins to play of her, of these, like, again, more of these earlier memories, perhaps, and it kind of does play into this whole unreliable narrator of sorts, I guess, at this point. So much so that he spots a purple dot that he assumes that he can catch. However, this purple dot can seemingly pass through walls. He's trying to collect it, and again, it's obviously going through the walls, so he loses contact with control for a bit as he's like nearing this purple mist. This has been like what his main mission has been leading him towards, is entering this cloud mist. I forget what they call it in the movie, but the spider keeps referring to it as the beginning. And that in reaching that they will experience it together, whatever it is, that being. And he can now begin to see things that he wasn't there for, aka the first pregnancy. Like, he had to be on call for that, as an example here. Spider. During his comms, the Spider cuts him off, so the Spider seems to be able to interact with things. Again, unreliable narrator, who knows what's really going on. And breaking the comms, or silencing them for a moment anyway. And the Spider says how it's lost interest in his journey. This is meant to, I suppose, act as our low point of the movie, of the Spider not being interested in his little story anymore. This is definitely where the acting gets a little bit, I want to say a little bit janky. Adam Sandler's performance, we'll have to talk about more of that on the recap or the end portion, but we'll get there. Anyway, so he calls up his wife, or tries to, I forget if he makes the contact this time around. He goes on about how he should have stayed here on Earth and just saw things through. And during one of his many flashbacks of him way younger, we see the younger Spider turn older and be there for all of that stuff. So the Spider returns after he makes the contact, and he hugs the Spider. But as the Spider goes whoop-a-doo-doop-a-doop away, things begin to further escalate as he's heading, inching towards this purple mist. And he sees the Spider ends up outside, where he now feels like he needs to be out there to be with it. And as he begins to float into this purple mist, begins replaying all these sorts of memories, as this beginning, as it's been referred to, is like this just collection of memories of everything, though, beyond him, beyond the universe. And he begins to talk about how he remembered almost drowning, and how he was talking about how the sun would keep up, even if he had not been there, but it was saved. And it shows this little bit where he's going to the ending sequence of this little transaction between him and this grassy area. And of course, him, getting that message through about to his wife about regretting and gonna get home, gonna be there this time, gonna fix it all. And with that, the movie, it kind of ends when he's made his little revelation. And that was Spaceman. And I enjoyed it to a degree, however, asterisk, Adam Sandler's performance here, it's a little rough, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like they could have done a few more takes. I feel like the emotional weight isn't always there for the purposes of what they're trying to clearly go for. I feel like the biggest example of that is when he's in this, beginning, seeing hearing all of these memories. I don't know, I would expect a great performer to tear up, to just lose themselves, and it never feels like Adam Sandler performance pushes to that extent, which is the extent I feel like that moment should reach. I don't know, that feels like the penultimate moment, right? I feel like that's the moment of release of, while also simultaneously seeing or hearing it, you know. And yeah, I think that kind of goes in line with the rest of the performance, because there are definitely other moments of, like, when the spider wants to go away, and his reaction is very, it doesn't seem as believable as it could be. His interactions with real people, rather, not this spider. You know, I think as an overall performance, it does come across as rather a little bit more stilted than I think it deserves to or needs to be. And it pulls away from what I think are way more emotional moments that are very crystal clear. So, I don't know, I think they either needed a better person to direct, or they needed a better actor. I'm not sure which it is, because I know Adam Sandler can do more dramatic performances. You know, I think he's done a dramatic thing, something or other before. I'm not sure what it was. I'm struggling to remember. But yeah, it feels like, I don't know, it may have been more so the direction. I don't know. I can't quite place it, but there's definitely a lack of emotion that seems to be warranted for this type of a surreal experience, as I would want to put it. Even, again, seeing the spider the first time around, it, you know, it being there, quote unquote. I feel like his panic state, even that wasn't, it didn't feel as convincing enough as it could have been. Again, this is pretty consistent throughout the movie, and I definitely feel like that holds the movie back, is because so much of this movie relies on a single performance, and that is really Adam Sandler's performance, because he's like, and I mean, it does cut away from him from time to time, but he is what's driving this narrative forward. It's on him. So I feel like, again, there is some aspect of the acting that was missing. The writing is there, I think. But yeah, it doesn't quite line up with everything else. So, in terms of a score, I think I'm gonna go with either a 5 or a 6 out of 10. I would probably push for a 6, as I don't think it's like a halfway decent movie. I think it like just nudges slightly above that, but I do think that the acting primarily holds it from even hitting a 7 at all. So yeah, that's my review of Spaceman, and if you ended up enjoying it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition to help out smaller YouTubers, so go there to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and for my Discord server where we join, collab, chill, do all that cool stuff, and until next time, everyone, bye-bye.